Today we rebuild one of my favourite football clubs growing up. They boasted some of my favourite ever players, the likes of Alessandro Nesta, Christian Vieri and Ballon d'Or winner Pavel Nedved. That's right, you guessed it. Today we rebuild Lazio. In the late 90s, Lazio were regulars in the top three of Serie A, culminating in a title win in the 99-2000 season. The season after that, they finished third, with city rivals Roma picking up the Serie A title. And a bit of an exodus followed, losing Nedved and Marcelo Salas to Juve, and Juan Veron went to try and prove himself at Old Trafford. His career went on a similar path to Lazio's, with only 2 more third places achieved in the next 20 years before finishing second behind Napoli last season. Now you'd think that would mean they're back on the up. Well, not really, as they lost one of their biggest stars to Saudi Arabia when Milinkovic-Savic left to go to Al Hilal. With moderate finances and £85 million worth of debt to manage, this could be a tricky task in hand, but I'm convinced there isn't a football manager player out there who doesn't love a bit of Ciro Immobile. And with him still at the club, can we take him to a Serie A glory before his legs give up? That is the question. And that is going to be the challenge, boys and girls. Just simply to get them back to winning Serie A titles. They've only got 2 so far in their history, so if you can make that 3 or 4, I will consider that a good job. You can see from the favoured personnel and icons and so down here at the bottom some of the names I mentioned earlier, some of the ones I missed. Simeone, Di Canio's there, Sven-Goran Eriksson was there as a manager for a while, he brought some success. Mihailovic, what a player he was. Peruzzi, what a goalkeeper. And in the favoured personnel, some of the more recent players like Ciro Immobile, who's still there, Luis Alberto still there, Felipe Anderson, Romagnoli still there. If we take a look at the squad that we're starting off with, I mean, this is just sorting by position, but if we sort by ability, you've got the likes of Luis Alberto, Zaccagni up there, Romagnoli as mentioned, Ciro Immobile, Pedro in his golden years. We've got Guendouzi on loan, we've got Nico Varela on loan with a view to, I think he is signing, joining permanently in the year 2025. A wonder kid on previous FMs. Can he live up to that 4.5-star potential? Is he going to be someone we build around? There's a few wanted signs around the squad, but Alessio Romagnoli is wanted by Arsenal and Manchester City, and he has quite a high transfer value. So the biggest decision early on is going to be, do we cash in on him and use that money to rebuild a squad? Or do we keep hold of our best centre-back and try and build a squad around him? It's time to find out as we rebuild Lazio. You'd be forgiven for thinking this is the same screen, but if you notice, Alessio Romagnoli has gone to Manchester City. He took the decision out of our hands, handed in a transfer request, and we cashed in. I used the initial transfer budget to bring in Valentin Barco from Boca Juniors, and I spent some of the Romagnoli money on Leopold Querfeld from Rapid Vienna for 15 million. Hopefully when he reaches his potential, he'll be a long-term replacement for Romagnoli. And we still had a little bit left over to bring in a shadow striker who I'm going to look to build this team around for the course of the rebuild. Moritz Kjaergaard from RB Salzburg, one of my favourite young players on this year's FM. That concludes the ins and outs. Now it's time to build a tactic. And I think we're going to go with this kind of offset 4-2-3-1 with a shadow striker role. Perfect for Kjaergaard, who I'm going to lock in. Some would say we've got the group of depth in the Champions League with Bayern Munich and Atletico Madrid in there. And we've made a solid start in Serie A with 2 wins in our first 2 games before going down 2-1 away at Juventus. We are down in 6 after 3 games with teams around us still to play their third, but it's too early to be concerned. The one concerning thing I would say, our goalkeeper with the most Man of the Match awards, means we might just be a little open at the back. But it's time to simulate through these games and see how we get on in Season 1. And it was a 4th place finish in Serie A, finishing 11 points behind winners Milan. We were comfortably beaten in the quarter-final of the Champions League by Man United, who went on to lose to Leipzig in the final. A disappointing quarter-final exit in the Coppa Italia to Hellas Verona, Napoli going on to win the competition. But we did end up with the Italian Super Cup, a 5-2 win over Fiorentina. And a nice £6 million in prize money might just spice up our summer spending. Just under 22 million in transfer budget, not a lot of wages, and the pre-arranged transfer of Guendouzi coming in through the door. What can we do to strengthen and push on in Season 2? The media have us down to finishing 5th. And we don't have a single player in the Dream 11. We do, however, have Champions League football, and a double trip to Germany, as well as hosting Real Madrid, paves the way for an entertaining Champions League campaign for us. Tati Castellanos left to go to Saudi Arabia for Al Nassr for £17.5 million. And we've got a further £5 million for Gustav Isaacson. Mario Gila also left for £2.2 million, but the rest of the £31.5 million in was all made up of transfers under £1 million. But we had more than enough in the bank to go Wonder Kids shopping, with Nelson Viper being our first signing. He was followed in by Rooney Bargi, one of the best Wonder Kids on the game, and someone along with Kjaergaard and Viper that could be here for the bulk of the rebuild. Alan Maturo comes in for quite a bit of money from Genoa, but because he can play left back and centre back, he's someone that's going to provide much needed cover. We also look to future proof our defence with Zeno de Bast coming in from Anderlecht, and when in need of a young starlet, where better to go to RB Salzburg, where we got Umar Saleh for £14.5 million. A couple of loan signings then with Jeremy Doku and Levi Colwill coming in from the Premier League. I decided attack was the best form of defence and decided to go with this beast, inspired by the one and only Omega Dad. And that might just have been a stroke of genius, as we sit top of the league after 3 games with 3 wins from 3, including a 1-0 win away at Juventus. So progress already made from last year. Now all that's left to do is to simulate Season 2. We finished 1 place above last year in 3rd, but still 11 points off the winners, this time Napoli, and we were dumped out of the Champions League by holders Leipzig in the knockout playoff round. We weren't in the Super Cup this year, but unfortunately for us, that went to City rivals Roma, which leaves the Coppa Italia, which we only went and won. Jeremy Doku, on loan from Manchester City, scoring the winner against AC Milan. So silverware in Season 2, way ahead of schedule, leads to a £54 million transfer budget. We're going to have some fun. But unfortunately, there's a few players that won't be around to see that fun, and Matteo Guendouzi is one of them. £24.5 million to Al Nassr. Thank you very much. £22 million was just far too good to turn down for Luis Alberto. He went to Real Madrid. Our shirt sales in Asia might suffer a bit. Kamada goes to Atalanta, and stalwart midfielder Cataldi goes to West Ham for 7. We already had the transfers of Ravella and Pellegrini organised for Juventus, but we added to it with more wonder kids in the shape of Paul Vanna from Bayern Munich, £27 million, and João Rego from Benfica for 25. We upgraded our goalkeeper with Lucas Perry coming in from Botafogo, and Lacroix was on the transfer list for 20 million, and I could not refuse. We went back to the loan market, and Baronetsia came in from Sociedad, along with wonder kid fullback Elias Yeller and another attacking midfield option in Arda Güler. I decided to stick with this tactic and hopefully get a bit more out of Immobile, who's only managed 25 league goals in 66 for us so far, although 7 in 3 this season. I think we're on to a winner. We sit top of the league with 9 points from 3, the only team with a 100% record, apart from Juventus, who are down in 13th, but they've only played 1 game. But the media are convinced we're only ever going to be the 5th best team in Italy, despite Ravella making it into the Dream 11 this year. Some challenging fixtures ahead in the Champions League with a trip to Paris in game week 2, but overall probably a more favourable set of fixtures than last year. Does that mean we're on for more favourable results? Let's see. Well, it's safe to say we've gone backwards, back down to 4th, 14 points behind Atalanta, who won the league by the playoff on penalties after finishing level on points with Milan. Again, we failed in the Champions League, going out in the knockout playoff, this time to Ajax, and we can only manage 3rd place in the Super Cup. And there was to be no saving grace in the Coppa Italia. We went out to Inter Milan in the semi-final. Atalanta going on to win it to complete a double. 25 goals in all comps for Immobile is an improvement on the first 2 seasons, but still some way short of what we all know he can do. Plenty of goals shared between the squad, with 4 other players hitting double figures, but maybe it's time to abandon this tactic and go for something a little bit more well-rounded. And with 35 million to spend, we might be able to do just that. It's safe to say the Querfeld experiment didn't work, so we cut our ties and he went to Fiorentina for 11.5 mil. Provedel wasn't happy about being bumped down to number 2, so he went to Manchester United. And Manuel Lazari had decided he'd had enough of life in Rome. He went to Al Wada. And I couldn't get Omega Dad's tactic to work, so I turned to his old mate Frank Kessie instead, who along with Aymeric Laporte both came in after their big money Saudi deals had expired, a pair of them costing us a combined total of nothing, which allowed us to go big, bringing in Kaiki from Almeria and Mateo Kovacic, who found himself on the transfer list at Man City. And I decided with Immobile not living up to his reputation, Victor Boniface was the man to come in and fire us, hopefully to Serie A glory. We also signed David Washington from Chelsea on loan just for a little bit of squad cover. And we've gone for this more narrow tactic abandoning the wingers and putting an extra body in midfield to hopefully shore up the squad. And it seems to be working so far with 2 4-1 victories, along with a 1-1 draw against Inter Milan in Serie A. And after 2 years of going out in the playoff round of the Champions League, I think we'll be lucky to even make it there with this set of fixtures. But maybe we're going to start to see the best of Kjærgaard, as he's started the season with 4 goals in 3 games. And Boniface has also got himself off the mark for us. The media think we're going to drop down to 6 this year, despite Laporte getting himself in the Dream 11. And the board will be happy if we just qualify for the Europa League through the league this year. Well, sorry, Mr. Chairman, but I'm aiming higher than that. Let's get Season 4 simulated and see how well we can do. What do the board know anyway? We've only gone and won it. Serie A champions. 10 points clear of Napoli. Roma finishing down in 13th. Is that the perfect season for Lazio fans or what? The change in the tactic has clearly worked. Still not an amazing amount of goals throughout the team, but 18 from Boniface, 16 from Kjærgaard, 14 from Vanna. They're sharing them around a bit, and the top goal scorers in Serie A could only manage 18. So maybe it's just not a high goal scoring league. And with Kjærgaard and Vanna picking up the best average rating in the league, I think it's clear that putting them in their favoured positions in a new tactic really helped us out. Although not in the Champions League, we went out in the playoff round again. We didn't fare that much better in the Coppa Italia, going out on penalties in the 3rd round to Fiorentina. And agonisingly, we lost 2-1 to Inter Milan in the final of the Super Cup. Overall, the board are delighted with us now, and they've raised their expectations for us to qualify to the Champions League through our league position. And they've given us a transfer budget of £44 million to try and achieve that. Right, that's one Serie A in the bag. Can we finish this rebuild on a high, bring another one, and maybe just get past that playoff round in the Champions League? No big outgoings in Season 5. Nelson Viper's gone out on loan with a loan fee of £2 million. Pretty much the only money we've got coming in through the door. But it's coming in through the door alongside Steven Spendy from Empoli. Tyreek George is a youngster from Chelsea that I'd never heard of. Didn't stop me spending £38 million on him based on my scout reports. The same could be said for Tommaso Barbieri, but he only cost £9 million from Juve. And Casper Tobias comes in from PSG on loan to provide cover for the goalkeeping position. And that's all she wrote for transfers for Season 5. We're going to stick with the same tactic that won us Serie A last year. And it's got us 4 wins from 4 in Serie A so far, including wins over Inter Milan and Juventus. The Champions League draw has been pretty horrible to us, with 4 English teams in our fixtures. I highly doubt we'll finish top 8, so we'll probably go out in the playoff round again. The media still don't fancy us for the title, despite us winning it last year. And even our own board have dropped their expectations. They only think we can qualify for the Europa League. Doubt me at your peril, Mr. Chairman. At your peril indeed, we've gone back to back with a second Serie A win in a row. And in 5 seasons at this football club, we have doubled the amount of Serie A titles to their name. Victor Boniface, the top goal scorer again with 18, but this time 7 of our players getting into double figures. Surely that's enough to get past the playoff round in the Champions League. Surely, please. And it was. We dispatched Napoli 7-1 on aggregate to finally get past that dreaded knockout playoff round. We took on Inter Milan in the last 16, and a wonderful scoreline of 7-5 on aggregate was enough to see us prevail. But the quarterfinals where our journey ended, Real Madrid being too strong for us, knocking us out 3-1 over the 2 legs. But hey, I'll take that. We just got past the playoff round. I didn't think that was possible. Lautaro Martinez got an 89th minute winner in the Super Coppa final. But we have finished this rebuild with a domestic double, taking out Juventus 3-1 in the Coppa Italia final in our own stadium. And if we were to carry this on, we'd have just under 60 million to strengthen our side even further. If that's something you want to do, let me know down in the comments and I'll find a way of getting the file to you. And it's safe to say you'd have a pretty good squad of players to work with as well as some pretty high transfer values if you did want to cash in on any of them and build something yourself. But that's that. We finished this rebuild with 5 trophies, 2 Serie A's, 2 Coppa Italias and a Super Cup. I think I can call that a pretty successful rebuild. And if you agree, then please leave a like on the video. And while you're there, subscribe to the channel, because in a couple of days' time, we've got a Roma rebuild coming out. Who's going to be the most successful team in Rome under the leadership of PottsyFM? Stay tuned to find out.